This is the age of the multidimensional self.
Hi there, it's Kelly here from Divine Alchemy Healing, and I'm really pleased to have Rodney back again for our third interview. And today he's going to be answering some questions that were put in his group on Facebook. And Rodney, how are you today?
Oh, I'm very well, thank you. Looking forward to talking about all these interesting topics. And the only slight fly in the ointment is the technical issues over the sound. I can hear you fine, but it's just
Good.
not quite as clear as it would normally be. So I might sort of ask you to repeat,
No worries.
just in case that happens. You know why? Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. All right. Do you want to tell us what the first question is then that came?
Oh, well, I've one of the things that came up is whenever we use sorry, I just get rid of a bar that's obstructing. Whenever we sort of talk about the subject of energy healing, there is the issue of concerns and cautions, and I think concerns and cautions, that heading can apply to any kind of healing modality, can't it? There's always something that you've got to be just that little bit careful about and pay that little bit more attention to.
Yeah.
And with energy healing, it's really about making sure that we don't give our energy away when we're doing the energy healing. Sometimes this comes under the heading of protection. How do we protect ourselves energetically from anything that's out there? And this can be an issue, because whenever we do dowsing, whenever we do radionics, our consciousness is shifted. It's a metaphysical technique, so we're linking up with energies that we wouldn't normally link up with if we were doing something else, something that is just sort of the mundane issues of life. So we do have to do some protection. And this can be simply done. It can be, when you're starting we've talked about this before, when you're starting a session, then you want to do a little prayer of protection or a decree or something with your pendulum that just strengthens your aura. A lot of it is about strengthening the aura, and it's about being well as well. Before you initiate any kind of metaphysical sort of technique, any healing technique that uses energy, this subtle energy, then we need to be well ourselves. So first of all, concentrate on getting yourself well, making sure that your energy field, your biofield, is clear, strong. If there's been any sort of traumas to it, then that needs to be repaired and healed before you do any energy healing. And I think for the sort of broader issue of protection, for the listeners of this video, I can relate it to, for example, my work as an alternative therapist. Now, as an acupuncturist and homeopath, you might think, well, what would be the biggest group of clients that you'd see? You might think back pain or musculoskeletal problems or things like that. But no, right at the top, above everything else, was chronic fatigue.
Right.
That was the thing that really I was being confronted with again and again and again. And a lot of the cases that I was seeing, the common thread that was running through that was that the individuals who were suffering these symptoms, which can be very, very debilitating, their energy was being leached, largely because they weren't energy aware. They weren't aware of what they were doing, that their energy was going. And in some cases, they were kind of actively giving it away. And the people that I was seeing, very, very, very nice people, willing to help others. And whenever you help others, there can be this tendency for others to see that help and draw on your energy field. Yeah. And one individual I particularly remember, there was somebody who whenever she was with this person, they manipulated the conversation such that it was always about them. That the individual could not get away. You know, we've all come across
Yeah.
those people who just, you know, you engage with them, but you can't, you find it hard to withdraw. And you know, gradually, this individual became weaker and weaker and weaker until she really couldn't even work. And she also had a job which entailed her energies mingling a lot with other energies that were about, which is normally okay. There's normally not an issue. But if your aura's weak, if it's already weakened, then this can set in a train of events that is rather like a downward spiral. So this person was doing an awful lot for other people. She was doing, let's have a think about it. She was doing healing, lots of energy healing. She was doing tarot cards, oracle cards. She was doing angel therapy, I believe. All the sort of metaphysical type healings that you could think of. So what we had to do was, where anybody finds themselves whereby their energy is being leached, the first thing to do is to withdraw. Okay, so first of all, you have to withdraw, and you have to work on yourself to strengthen your energy field. Now, with pendulum healing, you can do a lot of energy healing by, you know, sort of saying something like, strengthen and repair my aura. You can use the word biofield, or you know, you can use your own words, but really do something for yourself and withdraw from doing anything that could lead. So I said to this person, right, you really must avoid contact with anybody that you know has this draining effect. Work on yourself, strengthen your aura, do your protection decrees, do your protection visualizations. Very simple one is just to see yourself surrounded by light. So you're putting that positive energy around you, and your biofield will respond to that. So I also said to her, you know, put away all your oracle cards, don't use them. Don't read books on angel therapy or any kind of metaphysical healing. Put the books away, don't open them. Because as soon as you open, you start reading it, your consciousness connects. And if you're not strong enough, there will be a draining effect.
Yeah.
So be aware, work on yourself, strengthen your biofield. There are many ways to strengthen the biofield, not only with pendulums, but you can do it with, you know, meditation, visualization, music. You can use sort of objects that have a particular high vibration. We talk about high vibrational pendulums, and of course, just swinging a high vibrational pendulum in your energy field without using any decree will strengthen it. And by just the addition of a few words, such as harmonize my energy field to my physical body, and let the pendulum rotate, you're strengthening it. I also recommend people who feel that there is an energy drain going on to utilize minerals such as we talked last time, I think, about shungite. Very good protective, energy enhancing minerals are black tourmaline and what's the other one? The other black stone. It's just gone out of my mind at the moment. It'll come to me. Black tourmaline is a very protective one, and I suggested that this client of mine was to carry the black tourmaline and keep it on her, in her pocket, somewhere on her body, whenever she was going into situations where she felt like this. And this can be, you know, the kind of we might call high risk areas would be where there's a lot of people, where there's large crowds, where there's a lot of noise. You know, all this is can be quite discordant energy if you're putting yourself among it and your energy field is not up to the task of protecting you. So that's a good thing. There are a lot more cautions about it, but I think the main thing that we can speak about is that we start our sessions in a strong state by strengthening just the thought of protection, just the word protection, can strengthen our aura. So we can use these words aloud or mentally before we carry out any work, and be aware of when you feel any kind of energy drain, and then put a stop to it.
Yeah.
So neutralize energy drains, would be a good decree to use if as soon as you felt that. I think the quicker that you act with these things, the better. And then you do some positive decree work on yourself. There's an awful lot that we can do. So that is, I think, if there's any questions that you want to put to me that I've not made clear, please just come back.
Yeah. I think I was going to affirm that, having a self-care, or I have a daily practice because I do work with clients, and so I do a lot for other people, but I also recognize that I have to do just as much for myself.
You do have to.
And I always utilize some pendulum work, I do some alternate nose breathing because I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
And I'll meditate often when I'm out walking my dog, where I'm in nature as well.
Sure.
Because I feel like that's a really good practice to keep up. And the same, like you were saying, environment is so important, isn't it? If you live in a busy place and you find it quite stressful or chaotic. One of my lovely ex-partners lived our town, Godalming. It's not very busy, but he lived above a pub. And he really suffered from the sort of just the energy coming from the pub, up into his flat. So he actually, he had some malachite and obsidian.
Obsidian.
That was the one, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's a good one. But excellent one.
Yeah. Also make sure you do clean them regularly if you do live above a pub or somewhere like that, because they'll collect the energy for you, but you don't want that then vibrating out into your energy.
Wearing amber is very good as well. Amber is a great it's a resin, isn't it? But it absorbs negative energies, so it protects you by basically absorbing them and keeping them contained, so they don't harm you. So that's another good one. Another good practice is grounding. What we call earthing. So this is a physical earthing, when you keep your feet in contact with the earth, which most people know about, walking barefoot on the grass or on the beach. But if you don't have access to that, you can do it in a mental way by keeping your feet flat on the ground and imagining light coming through your body, going through the soles of your feet and going deep into the ground. I always imagine the light coming through and shining like a torch through the base of my feet and going literally to the center of the earth. Wow. So there's a beam of light going down. That's a very good earthing if you don't have access to the physical earthing. And it's funny how the physical and the sort of more higher levels, which we call the spiritual levels, you can actually see them interacting. An example would be people who are very sensitive on a what we might call a psychic level. So this is people who, they always know when somebody's in trouble, or they pick things up. They might know when the phone's going to ring, who's on the other end of it, or things like this. So there's an extra degree of psychic sensitivity in certain people. Now I would say that if you know that you have that, it's all the more important to do your protective visualization, some of these exercises that we're talking about. And I've noticed in my practice, my alternative practice, a lot of people who fall into that category also were sensitive on the physical level too. So they would suffer things like, skin sensitivities or allergies, sensitive to pollens or something that's going around in the environment. So very often you can target these things together and reduce the sensitivity on a psychic level, but also reduce it on the physical level. It's just interesting because we have to be aware that disturbance in energy fields, which move us away from the ideal, is really what we're calling it. It's why disease is a movement away from the center point of balance and of equilibrium. So we move into, and this can happen on the different levels. So we have the physical level, the mental level, the auric level, the emotional level, and then the higher spiritual levels. So it can be useful actually to identify where where that sort of disharmony exists. It may exist on one of those higher levels, and it can be tackled on that level. And that actually one of the I've done a few charts as well. Some new charts.
Ooh.
And
exciting.
I did this. This is quite a useful. I think people, they can find it. I'll put it in the file section in the group.
Yeah.
But it's a dowsing chart of the levels. So I've got here physical, emotional, mental, auric, and then spiritual 1 through to 9. We've got these higher levels. And you can just simply ask the question by holding the pendulum over, please indicate the level on which the greatest disharmony is existing with regard to, and you can mention an illness or a disease or physical symptom, and then find out where it is, and then direct your decrees or your healing to that level.
Wow.
So you can do that without knowing too much about the level, what the level means, we're really talking about frequency amplification, with the physical being the lowest level of frequency, and then going up the higher frequencies like that.
Yeah.
So that can be useful to know.
Cool.
So the other thing, what we were going to talk about next, have I covered everything there? Right. Okay.
I just add in, I've got when I first started working with guidance, they always said to me, take time to ground before you try and connect, because the more grounded you are, the more information you'll be able to receive, and almost like the higher up you'll be able to connect to. So that whole grounding thing and hydration as well is so important to remember, isn't it? Absolutely.
The hydration and the grounding is just so important. And very often, the more you feel resistant to do it, the more your body usually needs it. If you feel, I don't feel good, well, make sure you always have that glass by you.
Yeah.
To remind you.
Cheers.
Cheers. And that's a great thing to do. So the other thing is limiting beliefs. Right. This is another thing that can weaken our auric field.
Yeah.
So another chart that I recently made is this one with typical limit. I'll just hold it. I can read it.
Yeah. Read it out,
so it's things like being not good enough, not the right age, no time, not smart enough, not experienced enough, not successful. It's all the kind of things that we were talking about last time, where we tell ourselves, we have we hear this little voice saying, "Oh, I'm not this." Now, we often associate this more with kind of like abundance and prosperity and things like this that we're blocking. But I would say to the listeners, apply it equally to health.
Yeah.
Because we can tell ourselves that we're weaker, or our joints. You can hear yourself. I've done it myself. You hear yourself say, "Oh, my joints are stiff." Okay, it's a simple thing, isn't it? How many times? So turn it round. Say, "My joints are flexible and healthy," and then you've got a decree. People very often make much more complicated. Make the whole job of using pendulum decrees much more complicated than they actually need to be. So as soon as you hear yourself saying something which is a negative, that's your instruction. That's your way of making a decree.
And that's
so we've got things like, "I can't." How many times? I remember my parents always used to say, "There's no such thing as can't." When I said I can't, it's good, good, good little message. So turn that round.
There's
I,
a
I am fully able. Might be a phrase that you want to put into a decree, or say you're. I don't know. I mean, this is perhaps I've got here not talented. That might be related. For example, if somebody's wanting to apply for a job,
yeah,
that might be a limiting belief there, or oh, I'm not a leader. Maybe you are a leader, but you're just telling yourself you're not.
yeah,
These are things, and it's very common to see that when people heal themselves in a physical way, that they're feeling a greater degree of health and well-being. That what goes along with that is improvement in their situation in life. So if they've got a small business, they work on themselves and they heal themselves, they feel a sense of well-being, suddenly they start getting more clients,
yeah,
right? So the two things go. Or it might be you heal yourself and suddenly relationships start becoming more harmonious,
yeah,
either with your partner or with friends or with your clients. All sorts of things start dropping into place. So working on yourself is really a massive thing. So there's a chart that you can
lovely.
use to basically find out where am I? Where are my limiting beliefs?
Yeah.
What are the most the beliefs that are most affecting me at this time? And then you can work on them.
There's
And
that
then,
one. Have
sorry.
like when people say I'm tired, and then maybe it's because they haven't had enough sleep, but all day they're affirming to themselves that they're tired.
Yes.
And years ago, I met a guy who was a dog walker, and he seemed to have boundless energy. And he said to me that his parents had always let them stay up quite late as children, but they'd never sort of given the impression that you'll be tired tomorrow if you don't get enough sleep. And so he just had this whole sort of mental thought process that went on that never went to I'm tired.
True.
And so,
True.
if you think you're tired, you'll be creating more tiredness if you keep saying, "Oh yeah, I'm really tired today."
That's very true.
So, yeah,
And also the fact that people have an unrealistic idea of how much sleep they need.
mm,
People always think they need 8, 10, I've read it in magazines that, some research has shown that we need hours and hours of sleep. Now, I don't know anyone.
mm,
I can know, sorry, I think of one person who sleeps 8 hours. Mostly, I mean, I've never slept 8 hours in my life. Never in my life have I slept
yeah.
8 hours. I mean, for me, a good night's sleep would be 5 or 6 hours.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm not tired on that at
Yeah.
all,
Yeah.
But you're quite right.
Mm.
Maybe a good, just coming into my mind,
Mm.
a decree, harmonize the
Yeah.
number of hours of sleep to my personal needs.
Yeah, that would be a good one.
Yeah, and you can do these things just because don't try. Somebody could say, "Oh, I witnessed myself obtaining 8 hours sleep,"
Mm.
but maybe 8 hours sleep is not what your body needs.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 hours sleep, you'd feel really zonked out the next day
Yeah.
or something like that. So I think Margaret Thatcher got by on 4 hours sleep,
She
didn't she?
did. Yeah. Yeah.
And she had boundless energy,
Yeah.
apparently. So you're quite right in what you say, and use the affirmations with your pendulum. Increase my vitality.
Yes.
You know,
I love
I have,
vitality.
that's a great thing to do.
Yeah.
So that's it. The other thing, if I put with this chart, I also put in where I did this chart here.
What's this one called?
And this one is to find out where those limiting beliefs originated from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've put things like, I'll go through a few: family values,
Mm-hmm.
Learned from experience,
Yeah.
Education. Very often we're programmed by the education system when we're at school in all sorts of ways. Some of them not all very positive.
No.
Lack of love, that might be an issue for some people. A feeling of isolation.
Yeah.
Things like emotional shock. We've got societal conditioning, what we believe society expects of us, and that formulates beliefs
Yeah.
that aren't
Really
necessarily
powerful.
true,
Yeah.
Fear of failure.
Yeah.
That's a big one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Some people would rather not try something than try it and have the prospect of
Yeah.
failing at something. So that could imposter syndrome, which is one that I have just come across, really. This
Yeah.
is where, you feel as though you're kind of a bit of a fraud in the role that you're playing.
Yeah.
So you're not connected fully with the area of life where it might be work, it might be your relationships or something like that. Low self-esteem is a big one as well.
Yeah.
And here is a really massive one, lack of trust and faith.
Yeah.
So, if you got that one, a good, for example, decree would be, I choose trust over fear.
Yeah.
That's a really good one. Because some of these are very general decrees that you can use with your pendulum for all sorts of things. It's not particularly specific. You don't have to be specific.
No.
If you choose trust over fear, then it immediately strengthens you.
Yeah.
It really does. It's one I use quite a lot, and it works.
Yeah, and I am supported as well as a really good one for me. It works for me, works
Yes,
for my clients as well. So I think that's a good one.
it's a very good
And
one.
you're
That's
supported,
right.
Yeah.
And the last one I've got on my chart here is
Yeah.
brainwashed.
Yeah.
Because this happens as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We're seeing it a lot I'm hearing it because I'm in Spain, as you know,
Yeah.
but in the UK, there's a lot of concern about what's being said in schools to the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't need to go into any details. You know what
No,
I'm
of
talking
course.
about. And
Yeah.
brainwashing. What is that about? We want to. That's not something that's a good thing. So if that comes up, then we want to regain our power, don't we?
Yeah.
Regain our power to understand the truth of any situation.
Yeah.
So again, we can formulate all sorts of decrees that are around that.
Yeah,
Okay.
the media as well. They only want you to know what they want you to know, don't they? A lot of
Media,
the time.
yes,
So that's
absolutely,
some
absolutely,
brainwashing going on there.
absolutely. So we can use
Yeah.
protection decrees, protection against brainwashing. Or
Yeah.
I am immune to brainwashing.
Yeah.
I'm able to formulate my opinions based on truth with ease, joy, and grace. There's all sorts of things that can come into your mind that can replace the negative and put the positive in its place.
Yeah.
And this is a way that we protect ourselves as well, going back to what we started about. So shall I move on to the next one?
Yeah, I'd love to do at the end, maybe we'll do an anti-brainwashing decree or something like that.
Yes.
So that people, everyone can do that together who's watching. But let's
Yes.
move on to the next subject and then we'll come back and we can do something at the end, can't we?
We can indeed. Yeah, so somebody had asked about radionic circuitry in radionic instruments. What is a radionic instrument? Well, I would think the best way to think of a radionic instrument is think of a high vibrational pendulum to start with.
Yeah.
It hasn't got dials on it but really we can tune pendulums. We tune it by the length of the cord, by bringing into the field of the pendulum, and this is where I think some people have a great difficulty in seeing that every object has its counterpart on the higher vibrational levels. Right. So although I'm holding this physical object, it also has its presence on unseen levels that we can't see. Now, the shape of this object that we can see with our eyes may be completely different on the higher levels on the auric levels or the spiritual levels, it might look completely different. It might look in a way that is very hard to put into words because we don't have the words to actually describe what it actually looks like on those higher. We're talking about other dimensions here. So this is very important for when we're using radionics. Now, I'm not a radionic maker, so I can't really answer the question of if somebody wanted to know how to connect the instrument up and all that sort of thing. But if I just show you a very simple, which is just a box with dials on. Now these are rheostats. This was one actually that I got from eBay because it's an old Copen instrument, and I got it because it's like a little piece of radionic history. They go back, to the early days of when these instruments were being made. And basically inside we've got you just see the back of the dials. They're all connected up. And again, I'm not a maker, so but if I have tinkered about with circuits. You can find them online, by the way, if you put in radionic circuits as a whole. There isn't one radionic circuit, but the key sort of fundamental of a radionic circuit is that these dials are connected together in series. And on one end of the circuit, you have a plate.
Right.
And on the other end of the circuit, it usually goes to either another plate or part of the circuit which is having another function. And in this case, it goes to an output here, a simple output function. And this is called an accelerator function, which raises the vibrational frequency of whatever it is you're tuning into. So just like with the pendulum, when we hold it over an object and we move we adjust the length of the string until it gives us the indication that it's tuned. With a radionic instrument, we move the dial with a sample of something on the plate, and then we hold the pendulum. I usually have a smaller pendulum than this for this. If we hold the pendulum over the top and turn the dial, then we will get a tuning point at some point on that dial. And if we go through all the dials, we end up with what's called a radionic rate, which is a string of numbers. And there is a big argument in radionics, which I won't get into, about whether the radionic instrument is just a mental focus or whether it is doing something of itself. And this exact same this debate goes on about pendulums. With it's just a weight on a bit of string is one side of the argument. On the other side of the argument is it's actually a passive emitter of energy. I'm very firmly on that side of the debate for the reasons that I just mentioned, because nothing in existence can exist on just the physical level. And just if we think about that, that's really fundamental to it. So what we can do is we can represent, and just as we're tuning something here, we're giving a point at which there is a harmony between the item and the object. In radionics, it's often called the target and the trend. Target is where you're sending the energy. And the trend is what energy you're sending. So, for example, let me say we've got basically this box, which is nothing fancy. It's just a row of dials that you can tune. In other words, you can turn them and they will point to a different number. On the top, you place, for example, a photograph or a little snippet of hair or something which is called the radionic witness. Now, that's what we call the target in this terminology. Now, the trend would be what we're setting on the dials. Now, we can send the frequency of the target. And this is called, in radionic terminology, the personal general rate. So the personal general rate is when you have placed your sample, which might be a bit of my hair on there, and I tune with my pendulum these different numbers like this. Now I've strung all those numbers together. They are tuned to me,
Right.
my sample.
Yeah.
So that's called my personal general rate.
Yeah.
Now, if I then just leave the radionic instrument like that, what that's doing is it's strengthening my biofield, because that's going straight to my etheric body.
Yeah.
Radionics works on the etheric level, which is the energetic level that's closest to the physical.
Cool.
Okay.
Love it.
And so that we could do that.
Yeah.
We can do many more things with radionics, of course. We can actually find out through dowsing, through using charts, that a particular black flower remedy, black flower essence, shall we say, could really help this individual.
Right.
So what we do then is we change the dials for the rate that's already been tuned to that particular back remedy.
Yeah.
Let's say Minulus.
Yeah.
Minulus, we know, is a back flower remedy that's used for fears.
Okay.
The fear of things that we know. We're frightened of something happening.
Yeah.
Aspen is for fears of vague fears, things that we don't really, we don't have anything to pinpoint, but we've got this vague feeling of apprehension.
Yeah.
So say we've decided that, then that rate, we can look the rate up. There's a directory of rates. We just set the rate on the dials and leave it going.
Amazing.
And then we can just leave it. I very rarely do it, but I like to go by how the individual feels. Once they feel the benefits, then we can take it off, or we can keep it going.
Yeah.
There is an argument for keeping radionic projections going, but I actually think it's quite nice to like with homeopathy, for example. Once you've got a result, then you don't need to keep taking the homeopathic remedy.
No, sure.
And I think very often that's a good way to use radionics.
Yeah.
Now, so I haven't answered that totally for the, because I haven't gone into the actual wiring diagram of a radionic instrument. What does a radionic instrument do? Well, it actually stores energy. It stores intention. It can store one's intention, and it can store energy of something. So, for example, just like we go back to the analogy of the pendulum. Each of those dials is rather like getting let's say we have a wire and we loop it like this. And then we have a pointer that actually then changes the length of that wire. So which is what a dial does, it changes the length of the wire. Right. So if it's set here, it might be just this short bit of wire here. This is what these dials do. So we're actually tuning the wire, just as we're tuning the length of the cord to what it is we're looking for.
Right.
And that's really what we're doing. And that once the dial is set, what it does is then hold that frequency, so that while you're leaving the target or the witness sample on the device, it is sending that energy without you having to do anything. So you can walk away and get on with your life while the box is sat in the corner, doing its stuff.
Yeah.
So this is an interesting aspect to radionics, that it has the ability to store something, and different circuits do that in different ways.
Yeah.
Now, here is something actually that it is. I have found quite useful, because just as in the argument with it's actually another argument, not an argument, but two methods of dowsing, and there are two schools of thought to it. Some use what's called physical dowsing, which is where you're using your pendulum or your dowsing rods to detect an energy that you're coming into contact with. So that an example that I would give for that is, say you're walking with your rods or your pendulum over a ley line or geopathic stress. Yeah. You come into contact with that energy and then you get a direct thing.
Yeah.
So mental dowsing is where you use something like a map, or you're using your thoughts So you're asking, when you're asking a question, for example, you're using mental dowsing, because you're keeping in your mind the question that you're asking, and we know that thought is energy.
Yeah.
So when you've hold that thought in your mind, that the pendulum response is to the energy of that thought.
Yeah.
So there's these two aspects to it. Now, that also goes along with radionics. So let me give you the example of what I'm talking about. The little box that I showed you there with the dials, that would be equivalent to the physical dowsing, because we're physically tuning in.
Yeah.
The equivalent to the mental dowsing would be where we use a diagram of the circuit. Now there is a story, if people want to look this up, called a Hieronymus circuit, whereby a radionic circuit was made, but people found that they were able to use just a drawing of the circuit on a piece of paper or a card, and you place the witness on the appropriate part of the circuit, in this case a diagram, and then you dowse over it, and you tune it in just by moving a little circle of paper over it. It's like a pointer,
Right.
And you do it that way. So obviously there's nothing really in the paper other than the diagram. You could say that a diagram does emit. I mean, a symbol emits, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, my own experience of using this diagram has not been particularly good. I'm not giving up on it. I've tried it a few times. It doesn't really work for me. But one of the things I'm going to actually try in the future, when I get around to it, is to draw over the diagram with conductive ink, electrically conductive ink.
Yeah.
Because we know that conduction of current through a circuit draws to it the universal energy.
Yeah.
Tapping into the universal energy. So I believe that would make a difference, but I've yet to do that. But this is one of those sort of semi-symbolic, I suppose, radionic instruments that doesn't use any form of dial on it, but what it uses is a grid, like a chessboard.
Yeah.
And instead of turning the dial, you just take the peg, the little black peg, and you move it to a different square.
Right.
So each of the squares, you have attributed numbers to them. For instance, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It goes 0 to 10.
Okay.
And wherever you move that along there, just little plastic pegs.
Yeah.
And basically you're recreating the diagram by placing the pegs in a pattern. Each of the pegs has a relationship to one another. So ratio and relationships in radionics, just as in high vibrational pendulums, are very important.
Right.
The ratios. So we're changing the ratios by using the rate, and on the appropriate part of the circuit here, you place the witness sample, which can be, with this device, it's always usually a snippet of hair.
Okay.
That's how it was designed, and
Yeah.
so we sort of stick to that. And this one's been nicely designed so that you can put actual physical frequencies through it.
Wow.
They're called Rife frequencies through
Right.
it, made by Birkener Labs is the company. But it's a very nice one, this, because underneath this little circle here, we've got a very fine coil. Actually, like a very fine circuit board, but it's made in the form of a coil.
Okay.
And coils collect and transmit the universal energy.
Right.
So this is my belief from the tinkering that I've done, is that coils are quite useful things to have in circuits where you want to focus and project the universal energy.
Wow.
So here we have the projector. The field is around the target, and we've brought into that field a pattern which is harmonizing and then gets transmitted to the target.
Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
So this is how something works. Now, this was another question that I'd forgotten about because somebody asked about it in a previous comment in the group.
Yeah.
Because they'd seen that I'd made these pendulum stands. You've probably seen them.
Yeah.
And I proposed a method of making them like a radionic instrument, rather like if the Peggotty board. But in here we're utilizing, instead of the movable pattern of the pegs, we're using the what might be called the sacred geometry of the high vibrational pendulum. So we have the circles and we have the form, which has been programmed. This is a Jed pillar pendulum, which has many qualities programmed already into it. This is we'll talk about the passive emission of energies. So we have in this case we have olive wood. I have a lot of olive wood pendulums made, as you know, and so we have the qualities of olive wood, which are strength, durability, and protection. We have the form of the Jed pillar, which is protection, harmony, and abundance. Those are other qualities as well, but they are very strong qualities that have been attributed to this as a symbol over the years. And of course, that then produces around it that sort of that field that we have, rather like the coil under the Peggotty board there. So when we hang that and we place below it the witness, we're bringing together within that field the target, which will be harmonious in terms of the qualities that you're bringing it into contact with. So there's many things going on here, although it looks very simple. Let's just review them. We have the energetic vibrational energy around the object, and where does that come from? It comes from the shape, which makes this object a high vibrational pendulum. We've talked about how we can find that by dowsing. We just asked. So we want to get a high vibrational pendulum which produces this field, and we also want the qualities that we're wanting to project. So that can be, as I've said, the Jed pillar has particular qualities. But there is a third way of using this as well. Just like with radionics, we can set the dials for what we want. We can bring within that field, we can bring our intention.
Yeah.
Okay. How do we do that?
Yeah.
How do we do that? Well, for this we need to put the cord back on the pendulum and use it as we have done before.
Yeah.
And we can say something like, this is not a very refined way. I have actually produced a more structured methodology for this, which is also in the file section. But let's say we say something along the lines of, only if in the highest good, it is my intention that there is a continuous projection of high vibrational energy carrying the qualities of abundance, healing, and prosperity to the witness that I place below it.
Could you put a piece of paper with the name of a person on it?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
The witness. Now, if you're going to do that, take your piece of white card.
Yeah.
Think of the person as you write their name.
Yeah.
That's the important thing.
Yeah.
I mean, most people would probably do that unconsciously because they think you're like. But if you help that along a bit by keeping, say, a visualized picture of the person, visualize them, then that strengthens it.
Wow.
So now I can place that on there, and because I have actually placed my intention within the field, that just doesn't dissipate. That holds it, you see.
Yeah.
So I can then place that to one side and allow that, just like with the radionic instrument, I can allow it to continually project those energies
Yeah.
to the target.
Wow.
So that's
Yeah.
that's a really
Yeah.
very powerful healing modality, I can tell you. This particular one is also, I find, very good for creating. You can program it again to send out a protective field to a location.
Nice.
So
Yeah.
say I was a little bit worried about. Well, let's go back to what you said. The pub below.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
you're a bit concerned about those. You don't want to. So then program, do a little decree to say, it is my intention
Yeah.
for this Jed pillar to project a bubble of protective energy around my flat, which will prevent any low, dense,
Yeah.
non-beneficial or harmful energies or entities
Yeah.
penetrating this field.
Yeah.
So you do the decree, and then you don't need the target, because that's going to then stand in your flat
Yeah.
and enhance
Wow.
really the biofield of the flat.
Yeah.
You know, the principle's the same, isn't it? Whether we're
Yeah.
protecting the biofield of our body,
Yeah.
the biofield of the flat, or anything else, you know, an object, anything.
Yeah.
So
Could you
you know,
use
that's
that if you were going somewhere like a hospital, excuse me, for example, could you sort of start to change the energy of, like, I'm just thinking if you had to go in for surgery or something like that, and you're going to be staying there for a couple of days.
yes,
Like for me, I've always done this sort of more with just energy, but having that sort of already there, so holding that energy feels like a
absolutely,
good thing. So you could do that for something like that, or
absolutely,
even
absolutely.
a job interview.
A job interview,
Yeah.
anything. And you know, you can think of all sorts of different
Yeah.
target witnesses that you could use. You know, you could use the name of the hospital.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, you could use the ward name, or you know, if you wanted the name of the consultant that's doing the surgery. You know, all sorts of different things come into mind that would be able to project positive
About
energy.
50 of them going around, all holding different energies.
Oh, yes, that's right. But you're quite right in mentioning a hospital, because a hospital is not you know, for people working in them as well. You know, I worked in one for many years. And I don't know how true this is, by the way, but I heard, you know, in the old-fashioned nurses' uniforms, they always used to wear a silver buckle on their uniform. Very beautiful. If you've seen any of these, they are absolutely gorgeous. You can still get them on eBay and stuff. And they're beautiful, intricate things. Not obviously those uniforms are not used now, but my feeling is that on some level, you know, that was kind of like a talisman. It's made of silver, as they were always made of silver.
Wow.
Silver has very high vibrational energy, very purifying energy, cleansing energy. You know, it's very funny that you'd use that as a cleansing metal to wear in a hospital, where that might be a very good quality to foster. And it was also said that the pattern as well, the intricate beauty of the pattern, the harmonizing pattern, produced a form of protection for the biofield of the nurse that was wearing it.
I love it.
I don't, you know, I read that somewhere many years ago. I don't know. I've never been able to find any reference to it or anything since. It's rather strange, but I really do believe it. I believe that's where that aspect came from. I might be wrong. Somebody might contact me and say, "Oh no, you're wrong about the buckle," but you know, that's how I see it. Now, I don't know, how are we doing for time? Somebody mentioned they wanted some form of healing for eyes. Now, before I start, I'll say the usual thing. Obviously, we're not making any medical claims for eyes, for any condition. Conditions require the usual sort of medical says no, nothing like that.
No.
But what we're doing here is we're using energy. We're helping the energy, so it's supporting anything that you're doing, and it's supporting any lifestyle as well. Things like good health and healthy lifestyle, anything that you can do to help your eyes. So let's think about eyes and the energetic level. It really refers to how we see the world.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we seeing the world clearly? Are there things about the world we don't want to see? Okay. So on the metaphysical level, an associated energetic dysfunction could be something along these levels. And we can use the charts maybe to find out as well where that might be, especially on the different levels of being. So if you found it purely physical, then you would use, for example, if you're using pendulum healing, you would use decrees that were aimed at the physical. I'll give you some examples.
Yeah.
And these principles can be used not just for eyes, obviously apply them to any energetic side of anything, because we're not going into the medical field at all here, but we're using the energy. Now, so for example, I've made a few notes here. Being open to receive can be an area where energetically we might want to focus on with if you're having eye problems. And also, the eyes can be a reflection of the soul. So they can reflect deep fears, worries, and anxieties. So they can be focused on and cleared as well. So we have that. The kind of things that let's superimpose the other question about physiological change. There was another one because I mentioned that I utilize my pendulum quite a bit because I hate doing any form of physical exercise. I don't go to a gym or anything like that. So I like to, sort of reduce the size of the fat cells in my body.
I'm going to join you with this.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute.
Because do you know that we never get more fat cells? If you get overweight, you don't have more fat cells, you just have bigger fat cells.
Right. Okay.
So reducing is a great word. Reduce the size of the fat cells in my body in ways that are for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned.
That's good.
There we go. Right.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And then the kind of keywords that might be used for directing other kind of physiological responses like that would be, for example, I'll give you a few of them. Neutralize is a great word, right? So you want to neutralize a disease.
Yeah.
And in the question of eyes, I'm just going to pick one, say macular degeneration. You would say neutralize the energy of macular degeneration. And just let it swing. And I don't know whether any of your well, I'm sure that many of the viewers would have looked at some of Raymond Grace's work, and he likes to use scramble the frequency of. I think that's great. So you could add that to it. You could say, and neutralize and scramble the frequency of macular degeneration. I do think it's great to sort of play around with words and add them, write them down if you need to and see if that flows. If that, that's a nice flow to it. If that's harmonizing with you. If you look at it, you like the sound of the words, then it's great for you. And this is why it's good to play around with them and make up your own. Normalize is another really good key word.
Yeah.
Normalize is great, isn't it? Because if you don't quite know what you want something to do, to normalize it or optimize it. So you can do a good one. So let's relate the normalize to eyes. We can say normalized tear production in ways that are for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned. Okay, so another one that I'm going to relate it because the question from the group member was about eyes. So, but
Yeah.
as I'd repeat again, apply it to anything that
Yeah.
you like. Revitalize is another great one.
Mhm.
So let's
It
apply.
feels so nice as well, doesn't it? It
It
feels so
does.
lovely to say that.
It
Revitalize.
doesn't. I think so
Yeah.
too. I agree.
Yeah.
So let's say, so what would we want to revitalize? Well, we might revitalize an organ or something about our
Mm.
body. And in this case, we'll say revitalize the cornea in ways that are for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned.
I wanted to add in energetically and physically with that,
Yes,
like, because, as we said, we've got energetic, like we could say our heart, and we've also got an energy heart, or our eyes, we've got energy eyes.
yes.
And yeah, for some reason it just came to me to say
Sure,
energetic.
and if that's correct, so if
Yeah,
you that comes to you, you utilize what comes to
yeah,
you. One of the things I use a lot along those lines, again, yours is absolutely fine. I like to use on all levels of my being.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know,
It's
because
really
my
good.
background, of course, is radionics, and I'm used to
Yes,
levels, so
yeah,
that kind of like vibes with me quite
yeah,
well.
yeah.
So another, just an example,
Mm.
quick one. Optimize is a great word. I love that one. And again, it's one of those you don't quite know what you need doing, but optimizing it, bringing it to its
Yeah,
optimal state or its optimal function. So we can say, for example, back to the eyes example, optimize the shape of my eyes in ways that are for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned. Because what happens with the eyes, as you probably know, is the shape can be
yeah.
distorted in some way to change the focal length.
Mm.
So we can do a focal length. You can say optimize the focal length, optimize the focal length of my eyes so that the clarity of my vision is increased.
Just out of interest, is there anything on cataracts? Because I know a lot of, as we get older, we get these cataracts, which is really
Yeah.
just skin
Yes.
clogging up the lens, basically.
Yeah.
So how would we work with that?
Yeah, it's very much on the physical level, isn't it? So we would
Yeah,
want to, well, we'd want to use some of these things. So
yes. Could we
things like
neutralize or
want to kind of dissolve.
dissolve? Yeah, that'd be a
Well,
better one.
there's one that just gets
Yeah.
dissolve cataracts in ways that are for my highest good and enable me to enjoy clarity of vision. And then the other thing that applies to anything, or which you can always do, whatever it is,
Yeah.
you can increase healing to the highest possible level in ways that are for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned.
So it's just given me an idea because I'm on immune suppressants. They've just told me my bone density has dropped a little bit, and of course they want to give me more medications for it, and I am a bit resistant. Let's
Yes.
put it that way. So I was just thinking about optimizing bone density or increasing
Optimizing bone
bone
density,
density.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Another thing that's come to me that you can try, in radionics, there is a procedure of remedy simulation.
Right.
And something that I've had some good feedback from, again,
Yeah.
making no medical claims, is with transplant medication. So you're suppressing you have to take the
Yeah.
immune suppressant. I've fact some people find that it produces some side effects for them because they
Yeah,
can't stop taking.
they
You've got to
do.
take them.
Yeah.
Now, I found that using a simulator of the actual medication that you're on,
Mm.
creating it as a sort of simulated homeopathic remedy
Yeah.
with 30C potency enhances the beneficial effects of the medication while dampening down negative effects of the medication.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
you won't
interesting.
maybe have a radionic instrument to do that, but you can do it in a similar way with your pendulum.
Yeah.
So I suggest you do this. Write down the
Yeah.
name. You don't have to do this
Yeah.
now. Get a piece of paper, blank paper.
Yeah.
Write down the name of your medication
Yeah.
and then put homeopathic potency underneath
Okay.
30C.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then take your pendulum.
Yeah.
Uh, an ideal pendulum for this would be the Batizer's pendulum. They're used for, we can use any high vibe
Yeah.
pendulum, right? Tune it as we have done, holding it over what you've written down.
Yeah.
And then when you get the tune point like that,
Yeah.
then you can create a remedy. I hope that you can actually just swing it in your vibe.
Yeah.
But what you can do is you can make a remedy by taking some water.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then it is my intention to imprint this water with the energy of,
Wow.
and then say what you do.
Yeah.
And then the pendulum will go backwards and forwards when it's imprinted. So what you've done is you've in fact made a kind of energetic homeopathic remedy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
And that can then enhance the beneficial aspect of your medication, dampening down the negative effects.
I actually store it on a Metatron's cube, which is a sacred symbol before I take it as a starting point. So that's another thing I can do.
Good. Excellent.
Yeah, that's interesting as well, because I've been experimenting with a client of mine who, well, she's struggling to lose weight, and she kept considering to take this new medication, Ozempic. I think that's how you pronounce it. So I said, oh, why don't we get the frequency of that medicine and spin it in with the pendulum? And we also did a little thing where we sort of pressed on her arm as if she was having a little injection as well.
Yes.
And she messaged me later that night and she said, oh my God, it's so strange. She said, I feel sort of sicky. Well, that's a symptom that a lot of people experience when they first start taking that medication. It makes them feel a bit sick. And she said, I'm not sure whether it's psychological or real, but it's really putting me off eating. I said, well, it's doing whatever it's doing. And of course, we put in the positive stuff. Neutralized anything that was harmful as we did it. And it's really, we're just experimenting with it to see how it goes. But
absolutely.
Yeah.
A good thing to do. Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Maybe I mean, if you can get hold of those little homeopathic neutral pills.
Oh yes.
You can do it, and when you imprint it with any method, I mean, there are various methods. You could, if you do it it lasts longer than water.
Okay.
So you can then. She can then take them, like just dissolve them on the tongue like any homeopathic remedy.
Yeah.
It is that they are superior to doing it. Although you can do it in a glass of water, you might just drink it there in one dose and get a boost to your body. So there's still value in doing it.
Yeah.
And you can optimize the metabolic rate.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
this is answering the question about physiological processes using these keywords like optimize and harmonize. You might want to harmonize the action of an organ with the rest of your body, which is a good thing to do. Another good thing to do, whatever send love to an organ.
Yes.
send unconditional love to an organ. It's a very powerful energy, of
Oh,
course,
it's
and that
amazing.
will help. You can also, another good one for eyes, very often it comes through the RNA and DNA through our genetic, passing it down through our genetics. You can use the optimize one again.
Right,
We can do optimize, balance, and correct
gonna do that.
DNA and RNA in order to heal my eyes.
Feels so
And
nice to do as well, doesn't it?
nice to do, and
Yeah.
you can send blue-green energy to your eyes as well.
Yeah.
And send grey to the cataract. You mentioned cataract.
Ah, yeah.
Send grey
Mm,
to cataracts.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's that. And then, of course, if you found out that if you used the chart and some of the eye problems were coming out as being on the higher levels,
Yeah.
for example, if it came out of emotional,
Yeah.
say we got emotional,
Yeah.
then you would use decrees aimed at correcting that. So
Yeah.
let's see, did I write any down earlier? So emotionals might be, for example, so the eyes. Here we go. So I wrote a few things that may be related to emotions and eyes. You know, I deserve to see the world clearly and easily. Because there may be something emotionally that's saying, I don't want to see this.
Yeah.
And that is a way to state that you're deserving of clear vision. Let's have a look. Here's another good one.
Okay.
I make a conscious decision to see more clearly. So you can see with clarity, focus. Oh, another one is I just mentioned the word focus. There can be on a higher level a problem with being in the present moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's another good thing for people with eye problems to I'm focused on the present moment. Another one would be like each day I see more clearly, and it is safe. We could make one with that, couldn't we? Say something like it is safe for me to see clearly all aspects of my life.
Yeah. And I think the unconscious mind really loves to know something is safe.
Yes.
Because, as a child, when you're growing up, your unconscious mind sort of has that thing where it's sort of, okay, is it safe or not safe?
Yes.
And we're just making it very simple here, but, it will always try and keep you away from the not safe things.
That's
so by
right.
sort of working with a pendulum and saying it's safe for me to feel like this, or it's safe for me to experience this or see this. Yeah, that's very powerful.
Yeah, it is powerful, yes, because I do find that there are quite a few people who are locked into the idea that they can't or they don't deserve. They're two things to neutralize. I can't, I don't deserve. Good things to happen or to see beauty in the world.
Yeah.
So we could formulate a whole tranche around it.
Yeah.
But yes, and the people who fall into that category, I've noticed they almost fear the good because they see it as a lead on to something negative.
Oh, yeah.
And that is
Mm,
that's really something to
yeah.
negate, isn't it? To neutralize.
Yeah. I've had definite clients who, yeah, if things are going too well, they think that means something bad's going to
Is
happen
gonna
soon.
happen. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we can all relate to that on some
Mm,
levels, can't we?
mm,
I certainly can, but
yeah.
I have been able to neutralize. Somebody asked me, "Oh, a good thing in your interviews would be to talk about your successes." Well,
Mm,
I think, the biggest, if I was to say, well, right at the top of my successes, apart from all the things that I've got, physical things,
yeah.
I've never wanted for anything and I don't want for anything, but above all that is the ability to not be troubled by any of that stuff,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
becoming aware of it means you can then negate it.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's where, if I was to say my biggest success is moving away from all that,
Mm,
all the programming that we have as kids, all those statements, to be now we have a really powerful tool to move us from that state, to deprogram us.
yeah.
And we also have the tool to be able to put us back on track if we feel ourselves
Yeah. Veering
drifting.
off.
Yeah, drifting
Yeah.
off.
Yeah. And there's some things will take you off, and that's just, you can become aware of that and recognize, oh, I need to do a little bit more on that.
Yes, exactly.
There's probably something I didn't quite catch, so
That's
yeah,
right.
it's all
Now,
good.
I have actually written down um, a few. Let me just have a look. Some decrees that I thought would be nice for this session. I
Lovely.
don't know where they came
Thanks.
from.
Okay.
So I think that these are quite useful for
Yeah.
your viewers right at this time. So
Perfect.
now is a good time to pick up our pendulums.
Okay.
And this will be for someone who's watching this, I feel sure,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I can't actually even remember writing these, but I've written a
You
few on
probably
my.
channeled them.
I probably did. I'm
Yeah.
looking up more, and people who use the pendulum will find they're doing this.
Yeah.
Not just me. You will find yourselves doing this more and more.
Yeah.
Believe me, and that's a really good state to get to. So here we go.
Okay.
So let's just do a little bit of a protection now. We'll
Yeah.
say, to the Supreme Being and all the invisible helpers, thank you for creating a powerful shield around me, my aura, and my chakras. In full faith, so be it. I ask that everything that I say or do shall only be for my highest good, the highest good of all concerned, and the highest good of all. Okay.
Yeah.
So we swing it in the positive way, clockwise. I choose the path of least resistance. My sense of fulfillment and satisfaction increases daily. Just breathe if you feel it's taking a little time. Just take that deep breath in and release. I release all resistance to being happy and content. Deep breath in and release. Next one. I welcome and appreciate increased money flow into my life. I witness myself fit, healthy, and thriving. I am open to receiving the gifts of the universe that I am now ready to receive. I feel positive, lucky, and thankful. I know that the universe is always working for my highest good. My vibrational energy aligns itself with the energy of my desires to manifest them into reality in ways that are for my highest good and the highest good of all concerned and the highest good of all. There we go.
Wow, thank you. That was so lovely. I feel like I've been in a multicolored shower of light while I was doing that.
Yes.
Really beautiful.
I felt as I was writing them that they were definitely for this session.
Yeah.
So I'm quite confident that people listening, that will be helpful to some people.
I think it will be helpful to everyone.
Everybody that listens. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. I mean, yes, you
Oh.
can use them for so many aspects of your life, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Is there anything else you want to tell us just before we start to wrap up, or?
Let me just say, I'm going to protect questions. No, I think I've got it. I think really to summarise,
Yeah.
for people who want to every day just benefit from simple energy healing, is about be aware of your energy, but in a positive way. It's not something to fear. You know, I don't reach for a talisman every time I go out into, you know, or my tourmaline, because you have a sense of trust that your biofield is strong.
Yeah.
And you know, you have these tools if you feel any kind of need. You know, they're there to pick up and use as soon as you want them, or as soon as you feel you need them. And you know, you judge the progress by your results. The other thing that I would say, perhaps finally, is that it is important to let go of whatever you're doing, because it's called lust for result. You know, when you're always your mind is concentrating on obtaining a particular result, you really have to learn how to let that go. So, you know, again, you know, maybe you can use your pendulum to help you do that, or help you to meditate or center or do something to aid that. I have no problem with it. It takes a little practice to begin with, but after a while you automatically do it. It's surprising how quickly you are able to just put something out there and let it go, let it do its work.
Yeah. And it's so simple to do this work, isn't it?
Very simple.
You know, one of the things my clients always say is that there's no real side effect. You know, we can release stuff, we can increase stuff, and we can neutralize stuff, and they don't have to go back into any trauma or any painful memories.
Absolutely.
They can just sit and enjoy it. And the only thing they sometimes say is they feel a little bit tired afterwards, but I think that's because work is being done, you know.
Work is being done, and that's a good sign. The tiredness is a good sign.
Yeah.
Always go with it. Always rest when you feel it. Don't push yourself. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
The other thing is the spinning of the pendulum can create entrainment in the brain to bring you to a delta state, and that can
Okay.
bring a bit of
Yeah,
tiredness as well. But it's beneficial.
it
It's
is.
beneficial. So
Yeah.
please go with those feelings because they are really good for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you once again, Rodney. I mean, I feel like we've covered so much today. There's so much in here. I'm definitely going to be re-watching it when we've edited it and put it on YouTube. And as always, thank you for your time and all your experience. And I hope we can do it again soon.
Love to.
We'll do
And
another
thank
one.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you for the opportunity, and
Oh,
thank you for the
pleasure.
listeners for listening.
Yeah, thank you for watching, everyone. Please give us a like and subscribe to keep getting this content. Well, other interviews coming up as well, but we're going to keep on with Rodney in particular because he's a well of knowledge, isn't he? So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care, and we'll speak soon.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Kelly and Frog, the masters of